Anyone can sell electronics. At Electronics Expo, they do more than sell products. They design, install, and support complete technology solutions. From home theaters and whole home audio to lighting, shades, automation, networking, security cameras, and premium entertainment systems. For over 22 years, they've helped thousands of homeowners experience technology at its very best. See the difference for yourself. Visit their Wayne or Paramus stores in New Jersey or shop now at electronicsexpo.com.
Blaine Holt, the master strategist, retired United States Air Force general, who has been so key for us understanding this thing from the very beginning. He predicted exactly when this war would start, and it did. Blaine, welcome back, General. What do you think about it all? I just said a few things. You should say something smarter than what I just said. But that is the that's the gist of what I'm getting.
Well, I think you're getting the right gist. Listen, we've talked about this, and the IRGC is going to come off the table one way or another to get this to where it needs to be. But if you want to, we should really go to the 300,000 foot altitude here and look at the thing as a whole. The Pezeshkians, the Galibafs, the what's his name, Aragachis. These are the guys who were negotiating with us to get that MOU signed. What did they really do? They stepped into the President Trump time trap. So we think the Iranians are playing us for time. It's the other way around. What has happened since that MOU was signed? Well, we have a resistance force now building in the Iranian population. We have the Kurds now massing up on the northern border. We have the Iraqi leadership now expunging themselves of Iranian spies and money laundering, and we have a revolution that's about to pop. We have the remnants of the regime. The Mojtaba guy can't even show up for the IRGC. They get charity from President Trump, and they put banners all over the Ayatollah funeral that says, "We will kill Trump," in Farsi. And so what has the president done? He's now pulled the time wick. Okay, time's up. Put your pencils down. Now get used to the United States military taking out the rest of the besieged, the rest of the IRGC. We'll tell the Iranian people, oh, it's time. Go start your revolution, and we'll finish this off. But the masterstroke was that he announced the MOU was dead next to President Zelensky at the NATO summit, because he was sending a dual message to the European leaders and to President Zelensky. Do you see how not following President Trump's leadership leads to him changing the rules? And so that's a warning as he's going to look to offload this war in Europe as well.
Okay, wow. All right, so when he said it, that's interesting. I never would have picked up on that. So he says the MOU is dead. And if I'm Zelensky and I'm standing there, like, what am I thinking? Like, how does that apply to me again?
It applies to him in that they have resisted the diplomatic efforts of President Trump all the way through. The European leaders have said the only thing that fixes this is more money and more weapons. They've even convinced themselves that Ukraine is turning the tide in this thing. And President Trump smartly knows there's no military solution in front of this thing. And what he is saying, what he is showing right there next to him at the NATO summit is, you see what I just did in Iran? I just collapsed the entire thing. I just changed my mind, and now they're going to get a different deal. So in the NATO summit right now, he's laying out how the end of that war in Europe's going to go. And it's masterful communications, because he's sending these messages out in all directions. And it's not just Iran. Iran and Ukraine, Russia do have linkage, and President Trump proved that today with his remarks.
That is so fascinating. Now, look, I saw him a little while ago. I saw the press conference. Marco Rubio was over his shoulder. You're telling me he said that out loud, and was Zelensky like literally right there?
Right there, sitting right next to him. The other thing he said, which I thought was knock dead brilliant, was he said, and everybody was freaking out, he said, well, listen, Ukraine, we'll license you, give you Patriot licenses. You can build them yourselves, and we'll take 25% of the missiles back for our own stocks because you owe us. And we'll just do that. I was thinking about this deal anyway, and we'll do that. And everybody's like, oh, my gosh, what are you talking about? What is this about? Well, hold on. Didn't he just create leverage to get the Russians back to the negotiating table by basically messaging Moscow saying, I've still got all kinds of options from the United States that I can enter into this thing. And those are going to be wholly unacceptable to the Russians. But I'll do them if you guys don't want to get back together and us talk about what the end of this war is going to look like.
Wow, that is very interesting. Very interesting. He really is a master strategist here. So let me ask you this. You said earlier, there's been a lot of news that Ukraine is kind of winning now and Russia is losing. Is that fake news?
It's misinterpretation of the realities on a battlefield. Yes, Russia has endured deep strikes by the drones from Ukraine. There's no question about that. But predictably, what they did was they turned up the heat and went with hypersonics of much greater ferocity and bombed the crap out of Kiev, took a lot of logistics hubs out, a lot of interceptors out. In other words, quantity is a quality all unto itself. And big Russia's sitting on $75 trillion in natural resources and assets. They have a war machine going. It is in everybody's best interest to not kid themselves about millions dead on this battlefield already, and that there is not going to be a military solution. Now, here's the Europeans' problem. The Europeans have a major financial problem here because they wrote loans against the frozen Russian assets and gave those to the Ukraine in the hopes that Ukraine would win the war and get some sort of repatriation money from Russia, and that would pay off the loans. Well, guess what? It's not going to happen that way. So what do the Europeans do? They go, we'll just have more money and more weapons going there. And the Europeans are onto this because their economies are being vaporized and destroyed, and that's what President Trump is making the case to them at the NATO summit right now.
So much of this is totally lost by the American media. I mean, everything you're saying, you can't find this. I don't think you can find this anywhere else, General.
Yeah.
And no, that's to your credibility and the value and your insight. No, this is totally logical. I totally get it. And it is kind of exciting in a way. It's exciting what's happening here.
It is. We're on the eve of really good things. We're on the eve of really, really spectacular things. American business is getting slaughtered by the European Union. Nobody knows that. Nobody's being reported to on that. And yet it's going to all get fixed. It's going to get fixed.
How long do you think this phase will take? Now, they did ask him today. All right, so a couple of days ago, you were saying these guys are smart, these guys are interesting, they want a deal, and now you're saying they're scum and all so, which, I mean, believe it or not, two things can be true at the same time in my book. I know where he's coming from on that, but and analyze that, number one, and then tell us how long will this phase last? What are we bombing? Is there enough stuff for us to bomb, et cetera?
We're going to primarily go hunt down leadership targets and capabilities of the IRGC to go at their own people, at the secret police to go at their own people. We're really going to start sparking a revolution here. Now, that's where the time pickle comes into this, because when we don't have our 130,000 forces on the ground, but it's really the Iranians, probably backed up by the Kurds, who are going to get this done. Yes, we'll supply the air power, but we're working with indigenous forces, and they may take more time than what this is going to mean. I don't know that because the Iranians are so furious because they don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have a currency, and they're lied to every single day by everybody. And so, look, I think all of the recipe for the cocktail is there, and I would love to see it end like in weeks, but we could see this go into the fall.
Okay, well, I don't like that. And obviously, oil prices are coming up again. We know that. That's happening. Although I always pointed out that even in the heart of this last series of bombings, whenever that was a month ago, oil prices never went higher than they were under Joe Biden in 2022. And you would never know that by watching the fake news. How concerned is President Trump about oil prices going into the midterms, and how much should that, or is that, governing his decision-making here?
Yeah, I think he's managing it quite well. Scott Bessent is helping him every step of the way with managing oil price futures. Just 2 weeks ago, oil dipped below $80 a barrel, and we were dancing in the streets. Now it's at 75, and we're like, oh, gosh, we're in trouble. So I think it's being managed fine. The other part is when we want to get ships through, we can, and we will, and I think we'll see that very soon. The strikes last night were really horrific on the IRGC's coastal defenses, and I guess the president said we tagged like 28 of their fast boats. They're going to run out of those things pretty soon. So, every day is going to be a better day, and I think as folks see that, the markets will stabilize themselves and sort themselves out. Also, I don't know if anybody else is hearing this, but there is a global economic crisis well underway if you're watching the Japanese bond markets, the stock market of Japan and the stock market of South Korea, which means demand for oil is down worldwide right now. We're not in a hopping global economy right this second.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Does this vindicate a lot of the people like General Kellogg, General Keane, who were saying, hey, we got to continue bombing? They were saying it last week. They were saying it for a couple of weeks now. And the job isn't over. Did President Trump stop the bombing before the job was over? Or was this part of a deliberate, hey, let's regroup here. Let's get some more bombs. Was this whole thing a little bit of a ruse on our part?
Yeah, no, the generals can say whatever they want. This general certainly does. But what I would say is President Trump has had a timeline and a plan, and they have fallen into every single trap that President Trump has set for them. So President Trump had no intent of getting off the gas. It's just that he paused things to allow the Iranian resistance to start to brew. And what everybody does is when we stop and we say there's a ceasefire, everybody freaks out. Oh, no, we should bomb. You got to drop bombs. It's like, well, hold on. We will drop bombs when the time is right. And that's what we're doing. The time is right. You mistakenly threw a missile and 2 drones and a dog named Rex at some boats, and now we're going to hammer the crap out of you. And when he says the MOU is done, I guess that means the revolution's coming on. That's
fascinating. All right, one more thing on that. You think the Iranians can do it? Are they really, are they in a position to overthrow? They have no weapons. The IRGC seem like they're fully committed. How does that happen?
I wouldn't say they have no weapons. So I would say that they do have some weaponry, and they're going to get a lot more. There's 2 sources. One is us. We've got these beautiful C-17s. I've flown them, and you can drop weapons out of them all day and twice on Sunday and get them to them. The other part is you have the out-of-work Artesh, the regular army of Iran, not the IRGC, who hasn't been paid in months, and they probably want to make some new friends and share their weapons and ammunition. And then you've got the Kurdish, who can help with logistics resupply. So the means and the resources are all there. And then but the most important thing is, do they have the will? And here's what I would say. When you have nothing to lose, then you will get active. If you're the third monkey on Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain, there's no telling what you'll do. And I think these people will take back their country.
One other thing, F-35s. They're thinking about giving them to Turkey. President Trump is. Now, a couple of things. He just said it today. Hey, Turkey's, they've been good to us, and Turkey is a member of NATO. And then I thought, you know what? Basically, every other advanced jet we've shared with our allies. You can find the F-18 in a bunch of countries, the F-16, the F-15. Why would the Joint Strike Fighter be different? Or should it be, sir?
I don't think it should be different. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, this is the most advanced jet we have. That's incorrect, kids. The F-22 is, and we're not exporting that to anybody. And then, as you know, in some of these jet sales, we have export versions of the jets. And so I wouldn't freak out about that. I am concerned that Turkey went with the S-400 missile defense system that Russia was selling them. Turkey plays east-west kind of on the fence. But if Turkey, for whatever reason, were to compromise that technology to an adversary, first off, I know we could deal with that. And the second thing is they wouldn't be the only ally to take our technology to an adversary. And so I think, the president will sort this out. I know Israel's going to raise all kinds of holy hell on this one. But I think the president's thought these things through. And we'll see whether they get an F-35 or not. But there's a lot more to come on that. And I do like that the president muddied the waters and threw that into the dialogue pool to watch how everybody's reacting. And a lot of people don't understand that about President Trump. He will throw something into the pit just to see how people chew on it.
He really is something else. It's amazing to watch. General Holt, you are very good at domestic politics as well. And if you don't mind, I want to get your take on Plattner in Maine. Look, I got to tell you, I have reservations about a situation where a major political party is not listening to its voters. And, 4 or 5 people that we don't know or we know who they are, but they don't live in Maine, and they're just rearranging everything. Screw the people. That guy won the primary by 50 points. This woman's accusations, I've heard worse about Joe Biden, for crying out loud. And now they're going to throw him out. I just don't think that's right. And I think it is not a good thing in America where one woman coming forward about something that allegedly happened 5 years ago can stop a man's career dead in its tracks.
I couldn't agree with you more. But the thing to me is the Democrats get themselves into trouble because they don't bring ethics, integrity, or character to any one of their choices. They don't care. They just want someone that they think that they can get across the line by any way, shape, or form. And so they've really stepped in dog crap here, because before Plattner, they had 80 million reasons not to have this guy go into the primary for all kinds of reasons, because he doesn't pass any of these tests. And so now they've got this stink on them, and now they're going to try to extirpate themselves of this, and it's just not going to work. So I guess that's the end of his political career and the end of their ambitions to take out Sue Collins, who, by the way, is not a shining star in the Republican Party. This should have been a no-brainer for them. If they'd have gotten a moderate Democrat in Maine, they'd have won hook, line, and sinker.
It's pretty wild, man. Pretty wild. Fascinating times. General Blaine Holt, this guy is so smart. Sir, I want to, if anybody wants to find out more about you and your company, which is very intriguing, tell us where that company is and where we can find it.
Yep. We're headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida. We are at Xeriant.com, Xeriant. And I will tell you, we just got over our biggest hump. Our advanced materials for construction, meaning we replace sheetrock and tapes, they have passed their fire tests. They have passed all their certifications. We are getting orders now, and we are just loving it. This is a technology company. We do this technology for these construction products comes from the aerospace sector, comes from artificial intelligence and all kinds of different things, but it's cross-pollination of technologies. I have never been so excited about any project that I've been on in my career, and thank you for letting me mention it. But at Xeriant, we are popping.
Well, listen, I don't care what the hell it makes. You're involved, and I'm in. Okay? You are so super smart. Xeriant. I'll check it out. We will check it out. General Blaine Holt, thank you very, very much. You put the whole world in perspective for us.
Get ready, Staten Island.
The Ferry Hawks are back at SIUH Community Park July 7th to the 12th for a 6-game series against the High Point Rockers. Wednesday, July 8th with first pitch at 6:30. It's Woo Wednesday in collaboration with the Wu-Tang Clan. The Ferry Hawks transform into the Shaolin Hawks. Thursday, July 9th, first pitch is at 6:30. It's Thirsty Thursday with $5 Bud and Bud Light Drafts.
Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.